All right, and we are back. The other day in the evening, I did a little bit on the bottom of the dress and the gloves. That was pretty much it. Got interrupted, so we couldn't really continue on streaming. So, um, it wasn't not much of anything. Used white gel pen down here to create the lines, um, and a shiny metallic pen for the gloves. To make them look like silk. So, that's what we've got done so far. So not much, but we are coming along nicely here. So we got the bottom of the dress done. We just got her handkerchief left. And I am wondering what would be good to go with that. So just let me grab my color wheel. Maybe. I suppose I should have had that prepared ahead of time, but let me see. I mean, red is a good complementary color, kind of. Let me see if I can find something else here for a good complementary color to blue. I look this up here. I'll have to relocate my color wheel and find that. All right. So, it's a couple of different options here. There's either a yellow or a red, but you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking since her bodice or her bustle is, or her corset. God, I still say the wrong two things first before I finally get to the third. So, I'm thinking maybe we should do like a yellow color. When I'm looking at this coloring wheel here, yellow or orange kind of goes with it. So just there's a tri-complementary color that I'm looking at, and the yellow seems to come into a good spot with it, along with a red. Um, but I'm thinking yellow would be really good to complement with her dress, with her handkerchief there. So, we do have a few different yellows available. We got a bright yellow and a medium or a slightly faded yellow. Here's my yellows here. If you can see that, I did turn down my brightness on my lighting and stuff, so it seems like it's a little bit better than it was on Monday or the other day. So, yeah, I think we'll do the first and second yellow, and then we can use 116 there for some of the other shadows and stuff. So, we'll do that with the handkerchief. I'm gonna just do lemon over the whole thing first to get that outlined, and then do this next yellow, which is the 131, which is bright yellow. Kind of go over some of the mid-tones, and then the 116, which is labeled peach, but it does not look much like a peach. I mean, when I say color swatch, because that does not look like the actual ink on there. So, we'll do those three colors, I think, for the handkerchief, and then we can come back in with some color pencil to finish that. Every time I look at this handkerchief, this area here kind of looks like part of her sleeve, but that's way too far down to be part of her sleeve. So it still kind of confuses me every time I look at it. So I'm hoping when I add the coloring in it, it will look less like her sleeve and more like her her handkerchief. I mean, in some regards, it could be part of her sleeve because of how far down this one drops, but I can't picture the lining behind where it would actually meet up. You know, if you were to remove the hand, where would the lines come down from? Because this line area here, it just looks odd. So we're just going to make that part of the handkerchief here. So let's get coloring on this yellow first. I'm thinking with doing small areas and then coming in with this mid-tone yellow and coloring in the shadow areas a little bit. Yes, I'm oversaturating my paper when I do that, but as it dries, it should pop it out a little bit. A lot of things are darker when they're wet, and then they lighten up as they dry. So, get a better angle on this here. I wanted to move my window so I can see a little bit more of what's going on, and I can kind of follow along with everything here too. A little bit easier instead of looking so far away on one of my other monitors. That, yes, I could do the tip to tip again on this, but I think this technique will be just fine in regards to getting the color variance in here. Now, as of right now, you can't really tell much of a difference in regards to the two tones. I mean, on the color swatch, you could tell a huge difference on there. But on the coloring page right now, you can't tell much of a difference. I think a lot of it's the grayscale kind of hides a lot of it, but as you can see, the top area that's kind of dried a little bit, it's starting to show up a little bit more. Still pretty subtle. Sometimes that's what you gotta do, is just go subtle. You know what? I'm just gonna color this ribbon. It's gonna be either a yellow or darker color anyway, so this will just make things easier here. So tomorrow, Friday, I was thinking of getting the little one in here and playing some games. She's really been digging into the Nintendo Switch lately. Maybe play that for a little bit Friday night. And then maybe I can get into one of my own games and stuff. Excuse me. Not a lot I can do at night. A lot of the times when I'm doing my stream, it is mainly when there's no one else around. But also this room is shared with another, so at times it really shows up on this one, this section here. So at times I won't be able to stream because they're in here at the same time trying to do stuff, so it's a little bit distracting. Just kind of going over these areas just to get another layer of color in here. But I am thinking, that looks awesome. I like it. Sorry, my thought process just jumped somewhere else because of how good that handkerchief looks right now. Oh, for my next project, that's where my brain was going. So my I really want to get those liquid inks out that I showed you the other day. The Bombay, Martin's Bombay ink. Going over a coloring page with those in a brush. I think that would be kind of fun to work with those since they're water-based inks. But on this paper, I'm pretty sure it's not going to work that well. I think it's going to buckle the paper a lot and cause a lot of stress, and it'll pill up, and then it'll just be a waste of time. I might test it out on some paper. This is just, it's basic printer paper. There's nothing fancy about this stuff whatsoever. So, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking is getting those water inks and printing something out on a piece of paper and playing with those and working with your usual watercolor techniques, like doing a wash and then a glaze and all that other stuff on there. I've got a couple of different papers. I have watercolor paper that is 100% cotton, have a little bit of that. I've also got other watercolor paper that is wood-based. And then I've also got cardstock. Cardstock works pretty good. Some of my videos that you may, or pictures that you see on my opening are reprinted pages and are on cardstock. I like the cardstock because obviously it's a thicker paper and it holds up well to water-based markers and stuff, and it's a nice medium to work with. However, it's got a vellum finish to it, so it's a little bit on the slipperier side where it tends to not want to soak up the ink, so to speak. So sometimes the ink just sits on the top, or it doesn't absorb into the paper enough, so you'll see that when I put it on a regular paper, it just sucks it right up, and on the vellum or the smoother finish, it'll just sit on top and it won't saturate the paper as much, so the color doesn't saturate through. It doesn't come as bright or as pronounced as what it could be. Just kind of going over this with the seam area a little bit. Now I know it looks a little choppy right now, but once we go back over with the yellow again, because going over, you probably can't really even see it that well. But I do like how that all pops. That looks nice. So yeah, just a little variance in colors really make a difference. Yeah, I was thinking of doing, just go over this just a little bit here. Doing those inks. Just not quite sure which paper I want to do and what kind of project. I've got a lot of Jade Summers. I also have other coloring books that I've acquired, and I have a scanner, so I've scanned those images into a JPEG where I can print that out on a page, or I could even put it in my iPad Pro that I have, so I can color that way. Just haven't really done that. There's just a lot of busyness that's been happening lately. But, you know, that's the way it is. So I like that. That looks amazing. Not better than just that white piece of cloth that was there earlier. So I think majority of hers she's done. So yeah, let's work on We could do her hair next. And the pearl beads. I'm not sure how I want to do those, because any of the colors that I'm thinking currently are just gonna wash out a lot like the gloves already did. But I'm not upset about that. I was anticipating it and expecting it, and so that was no big deal to me. Putting my colors away. Pro tip, best way to keep organized is put stuff away as you're done using them. So then that way your workspace stays organized and as neat as possible. Yeah, I think so. So we could do her flower. Let me pull up that complementary colors again. Excuse me. Yeah, red was in there, so red flower would be good. I don't really have a lot of red. That is one of those things that kind of ran out early. But let me think. Any suggestions? Maybe I would do, well, that one is a maroonish color. So it's very different in contrast between 107 up here in the top and this one. There's a huge difference. But that might work in our favor for 107, working with our brightest brights. And the maroon working with the darker. As I know the maroon's going to look good with the dress. You can always kind of tell. Or already kind of tell. Let me flip her upside down just so I have a better angle for the flower here. And I'm going to color this in like I did the handkerchief. Just go straight in and do the whole thing in this pink. And it does look quite dark. And this is 107. Just going over it a little bit so any streakiness gets covered up while it's wet. Just blends it out much better. Alright, now we're gonna go in, no turning back now, with this maroon here. We're gonna go with the the recessed colors here. Try not to go too heavy-handed, but sometimes it just happens. I'm using their grayscale shading as kind of a guide to help out with the low lights on there. Just kind of grazing over the top of some of this here. Up. And then we'll go back in with the pink again. Kind of darken that up a little bit. Definitely. Definitely liking that. So that looks really good. Let me think about, I still am not sure about the eyes. I am big fan of bright blue, bright green eyes. Blue Nuts normally don't have that. I know, I am a brunette, and anyone I've ever seen with brown hair have brown eyes to match. It's usually those who have lighter hair colors, blondes and redheads, and that kind of thing, have lighter color eyes. But it does occasionally happen where you can have a brown hair, blue eyed girl or boy. Kind of thinking for her mouth area. I'm doing that maroon in the back and the pink again. Whipping those two out again. Kind of get that spot filled in. This gets to this point of the coloring project, and if I save the eyes for last or close to last, in my opinion, the picture looks kind of creepy with colorless eyes. What do you think? Does it look creepy with colorless eyes when you don't have those filled in? There's that. Still looks pretty creepy, but as soon as we come back in here with this pink, I really saturate this pink just to kind of darken it up as much as possible. Definitely can't see the line in there anymore, but as it dries, it'll come back out again. My markers are sliding down on me now. Okay. Here, I really need a day between Saturday and Sunday. All right. So, still not quite sure how I do that. Want to do the headband. I mean, again, some people plan ahead on their coloring. They're gonna say, okay, these colors over here, these colors over here, and blah blah. I'm not that plan ahead type of person. That's just not me. But I really am leaning towards blue eyes, honestly. But my gut says, don't do it, don't do it. We could do pale brown eye, a lot like, what's that guy from Thor, the gatekeeper guy, from him. I mean, he had some pale blue eyes, or not blue, but brown eyes, excuse me. Really stuck out there for you. Let's see. I am thinking about these. I can always go over the top, but if once I do alcohol markers, I can't go over it with watercolor or water markers because it doesn't react the same. And I can give you an example here. Let me just color her eyes this bright brown. More of a skin tone here, but doesn't always say you have to use skin tone. Those kind of look like gray eyes right now. But let me show you an example. Scratch piece of paper here. Actually, this is alcohol marker right there, so we could just use that. So let me grab this maroon. I don't know how well this will work over, but I know that alcohol marker seems to kind of propel, or you can tell the difference between them. I didn't do much. Maybe if I use a lighter color to tell the difference, how it just doesn't really do anything to it. Here we go. It's kind of like, that's what I'm talking about. It's kind of like, secret message, you know? Use this over, use this pen to write a secret message, and then they have to have a decoder pen to, see what it is. And you can see that there's a big difference, but the watery color doesn't react well to alcohol markers. So, just something to think of. If you're going to use a mixed medium with alcohol markers and watercolor markers, you're going to have a reaction that, excuse me, is not going to bode well on that. Okay, so I did one layer of brown on her eyes, and it didn't seem to do much. Let me go back in there again and see if I can darken it up with the same color. If this doesn't work, then I will just grab a slightly darker brown to darken them up. It definitely has a little bit more color. It's less bright than the background, so that's good. That's another thing with color, markers. On this paper, it doesn't do it too much with the alcohol markers on this paper, with the type of ink that Amazon uses. It stays in place, the ink, or however they print these up. But when I print this up on cardstock with my laser jet, not an inkjet, but laser jet, it tends to pick up that pigment for the ink and move it around. So it's kind of annoying. I've tried different settings on my printer that I've read on the internet for suggestions, and for the most part, it works. It's not perfect. It's not as bad as it once was when it was really laying on that ink to get that on there. So yeah, I like her eyes. They kind of like a light brown grayish eyes. So I like that for this one. So I think I'm going to leave it alone. Everything else looks good. I'm still up for debate for those pearls. Not quite sure where I want to go with those. And then we also have her ring, and then the girl's done. I mean, I could probably leave those pearls alone for the most part. I have a couple other gel pens and stuff that I could use over here. Or, I have this bright yellow here. Totally different marker. It was in an art box of some sort. I can't remember. This is a zebra midliner brush. It's got a bullet tip on one side and a nice brush tip on the other. And I think they marketed these more for a skin tone. This one and a pink one, which is right next to it. And I don't know who in whose right mind would use those two colors for skin tone. I think they would just be on something. But that wouldn't be a bad idea. Now, you don't have to color everything. Obviously, I'm leaving the teeth alone, parts of the eyes. I could leave that alone because it doesn't look too bad, honestly. I could add more depth to it if I wanted to. Go in with a pencil and a rubbing or stump. It's a couple different ways I can go with that, but let me do her ring. That's gonna be easy. Since it's so small, there's not a lot of detail to it, so I don't think I really have to worry about it. So it's 141. Maybe I'll use the bullet tip on this one. Turn her around again. I am thinking kind of making that like a ruby, which, I mean, I could just use that maroon color in there. Would tie in her flower and her ring again. So, just go in with that. There. Good enough for me. You know, that orange or yellow did not show up as dark as I wanted it to. That's a little bit better. So, I think that's working well. I'm gonna wait for that to dry for a minute. I'm gonna come back in with my gel pen. Grab my black piece of paper here. Add a little bit of shine to it. You probably can't tell on camera, but trust me, it's there. See if I can get that to focus in on that ring a little bit. There we go. I can kind of see, add a little bit of shadow. I could definitely get the camera closer for these fine details, but I think a lot of it, you don't really need to see a whole lot of the details. Oh, I don't know if you really even noticed the bodice or the corset. But yeah, that's how I did the sparkles. Come on, focus, focus. I thought I turned autofocus off, and that should have solved some problems, but I think every once in a while it likes to turn it back on. Yeah. Must be one of those things I'm just gonna have to turn off every single time knocking stuff over. Should put that autofocus back. Okay, let's see. I'm out of focus. Everything's getting out of focus. Okay. Okay. Enough of that. Alright. So, I need a new camera. Excuse me. So I still on a fence with that. Maybe I'll just save that for last. Sometimes that's what I do. If I have something that I'm really, really challenging on trying to figure out how I want to color and stuff, I'll just leave it for last. Eventually I'll get to it, of course. Let me think. So we've got these dressers behind her, and this one right here in the forefront. We could dabble around with that. Let's see how much time we've got. We've got half an hour left. I like to try to keep it streamed down to an hour. Because that's pretty much all I have time for. So, let's see. How do we want to do those dressers? We could have them colored, or we can do them in browns. Maybe we'll do this one in a color. Personally, I don't know. If you ever watch Sarah Renee Clark, she plans her stuff out way, way ahead of time. Kind of wondering if we should go bold and do 123. Nope, that's 110, so we'll skip down a bit. No, see, this is light purple. Lid looks more pinkish. Fairly close in color. Fairly close. But yeah, I think I'm going to color this nightstand in this purple. I might let the grayscale do all the talking for me on this one. Oh yeah, I was going to go a little bit with color pencil on that one. On the handkerchief. But I think what it looks like right now is actually good enough. Color pencils, help smooth the rough edges, so to speak. Doesn't always have to get done. And sometimes you can't because the area is just too small and not even worth it. Like the ring. But I think this would work just fine with a handkerchief. I think that looks great, how we blended those three colors together. And I say, best way to get good is to watch somebody do something, learn how they do it, and then play around with it yourself. A lot of the techniques and stuff that I've learned, that is pretty much it. Watch somebody do it, and then play around with it myself. Watch and learn, play. Watch and learn and play. I'm not saying I'm the greatest colorist out there. There's definitely better people out there than me. They can do a much better job at coloring than I can. But I've come a long way. I used to have the simple mentality, single color all over the entire section that I want that color to be. So let's say the dress, for example, it would just been all one shade of blue. And skin tone, all one shade of brown. And not even going in there and trying to add depth and perception to it. Trying to teach my daughter that, but she's 9. She's got a ways to go. She'll learn. Some of the stuff that we do is just our happy little accidents. Alright, that's how that looks. When you're looking at something from the side, you're like, did I do that right? Is that looking right? Normal? Definitely. But yeah, the rose and that, sorry, you can't see the rose. The rose and a handkerchief, just a couple of colors and blending, and the grayscale looks phenomenal in my opinion. Okay, Okay, so that's the dresser. I think the bigger objects, I think I'm just going to leave fairly plain Jane. That looks like it was a tapestry. Kind of looked like a mirror at one point, but no. They shredded it. Duh, it's obvious. It's tapestry of sort. Okay, so there's that dresser. We're going to do that one next. What should we do with that one? I mean, I could still make another color out of that one. This is pale, pale pink here. I like my furniture, if it's made out of wood, to look like wood. That's me. My house is 100 years old. There's lots of wide wood trim throughout and thick, heavy, full wood doors and all that stuff. So I think that's where I kind of get my mindset at, is because the house that I live in is the a lot of the woodwork. There was 2 rooms in this house that had paint on the wood, which irritated my husband and I to no end. The bathroom, for one. That one, the wood was painted white, and it was not salvageable when we redid the bathroom, which definitely needed to be done because it was stuck in the 60s. It was a pink bathtub, cast iron, nice though. A pink toilet, pink sink, pink flooring. So yeah, there was lots of pink. Flip this upside down again. So, when, after a while after my husband and I moved in and bought the house, we got some money together and redid the bathroom. Had that whole thing gutted out. The window in the bathroom, I didn't eliminate it 100%, but I would say 90% I eliminated it. We took it out and I got some of these glass blocks, and I asked the contractor if those glass blocks would be a problem for him to put those in for the small section of the opening, and he said that wouldn't be a problem, and he was able to fit them in perfectly. We put them at the top edge of where the old window used to be, and it was high enough that it actually was above the wall for the shower, because the shower relocated in the bathroom. First it was by the front door, or by the doorway, the bathtub, and they actually put a stand-up shower in there, which they did a horrible job on that. Excuse me. They didn't put a water barrier between the floor and the wall when they tiled in a stand-up shower, and that stand-up shower would just leak like crazy into the walls and into the floor, and you wouldn't notice it just by looking in the other room, because with these plaster walls it hides quite a bit of stuff, which is not necessarily a good thing. And in the basement you couldn't really see what it was doing, because it hadn't gotten to the point where it rotted the floor out, but it was getting pretty darn close by the time we gutted the bathroom out and redid it. So definitely saved the house there once we got that done, because otherwise that would have cost quite a bit more money to redo that bathroom floor, the subfloor, and reinforce it and all that stuff. So we took the toilet or the tub out and the stand-up shower, and we did the combination unit like most common houses have nowadays, and put it on the wall where the window was at. But yeah, that glass window, or the block block glass. It's not the square, but the rectangular ones are a little bit more narrow. And there's 6 of them, and I used 2 different styles. So it kind of alternates and adds a little bit of variance in it. I thought it looked cool. Still think it looks cool, and it lets in natural light, which is what I grew up with. A lot of the bathrooms that I had in the houses that I lived in when I was younger, is there was always a window in the bathroom. So I didn't want to get rid of that when we gutted the bathroom. One contractor came in and said, "We'll do a skylight." I'm like, "No, skylight bad." So we obviously didn't hire that contractor because they had the wrong idea. So the block window turned out perfect. Still lets in that natural light, so every once in a while when I go in the bathroom, I don't even bother turning on the light. And that's one of the reasons why they had the windows in the bathroom, besides the ventilation factor, because of the business that is done in the bathroom, of course. So, I'm going to do 146 for this next one. Try to find out where she's at. Oh, there it is. It looks weird. I'm like, what is this one? 146, pale blue. In any future homes of mine, if it has a window in the bathroom, I'm going to keep it as much as possible. Or if I build a home, which is also a possibility for my future home, I'm going to make sure there is a window in the bathroom. Not one that you can see through, not necessarily one that you would open and close, but one that would still let in that natural light during the day that would brighten up the room just enough to where you wouldn't really have to turn on the light. And that's one of the things I really like about those windows in the bathroom. My husband thought it was a little weird, but him and my daughter, they both just turn the light on. And not I have enough light in there. I don't need to see everything in there, all the nooks and crannies. I just need to see where I'm at, what I'm doing, and get out. And a lot of the times it lets in just enough light. It's like you already turned the light on, but you didn't. Because that window actually faces south, and which is the majority of the direction the sun comes from anyways. At least in the winter time and all that stuff, so I think it works out pretty good. But yeah, back to the shower though, when they took out the tile and subfloor that whoever installed it put in there, it had black mold, stringy, gross, ugly, nasty black mold in the walls. And that shower was probably installed shortly before we moved into the house, or we bought the house. It was an elderly lady that lived here, and I think it was one of her family members that came in and installed it, did a handyman job, and she probably used it for a short time, and then moved out. Had to go to a retirement facility because she just couldn't take care of herself anymore. And that's what happens. Especially if family's not there to help take care of you. You know, you have to go where you gotta go so you can continue on until you can't anymore. But, yeah, that room had the white painted, and the kitchen was the other one that had the wood trim and stuff painted blue. like a pale forget-me-not blue kind of thing. It was nasty in the kitchen, and it also had very short uh, green and black carpet glued on top of hardwood floors. We did that a few years ago. It was a handyman project that my husband, my dad, and I had worked on. My husband did not want to do it, but we got him in there anyway. So, so we got that bathroom or the kitchen upgraded a little bit. We'd like to get rid of the cupboards and the countertop and redo those, but like a bathroom, kitchen is expensive to redo too. So it did cost a couple $1,000s for us to redo the kitchen, to the extent that we did. So we took the carpet out. We had to sand and buff the glued weird stuff on the floor, get that up. We put in a floating floor, those wood panels that link together, but put that in there to cover up the hardwood floor. Because at that point, I was just like, after we got the floor cleaned off all the gunk and goo that they glued on there, I was done. I didn't want to have to go through and finish the floor and have to come and go through the front door, which is also another challenge in itself already. But, so we just left it with the floating floor. Somebody else can come back and finish it, or we can finish it later. No big deal. It's protected now, and it would be a lot easier for the next person to come in and bring out that hardwood floor versus what we had to go through. So, much better situation for that kitchen. And then we took the wood trim down. Some of it was not salvageable. It broke when we took it off just because of how much paint was painted on those trim panels and stuff. So we've replaced it with something similar to what they replaced it in the bathroom, because a lot of that got damaged when it was taken out. So and then also there was wallpaper on the ceiling, which was not fun to deal with. My dad's like, well, we'll just put texture on the ceiling, and that'll hide the wallpaper and stuff. Well, as we mudded up the cracks and seams of the plaster on there, it started getting the wallpaper wet, and the wallpaper started falling down. So I'm like, can we just do what we did in one of the bedrooms we did, and just go get thin sheetrock, drill the holy whatever out of it to get it, or screw the holy live or whatever out of it in the ceiling to make it stick and stay. Then do the taping and masking and mudding, just to kind of seal that stuff in. Because who knows, there may have been some lead-based paint in that anyways, and maybe not. But this way, it sealed whatever potential problems in the future off anyways. So we did do that, and that worked a lot better. My dad wasn't very happy with it. I don't think my husband was either, but it was a lot easier to do that than have to strip the wallpaper off the ceiling and then try to seal the cracks and then texture it and stuff like that. It was, he has equipment to help put sheetrock on the ceiling. So, and we also did, one time we did a handyman's rig for putting sheetrock up, which is a couple of 2x4s screwed together to help support that panel up in the ceiling while you screw it in place. So that's kind of a cool little trick he showed us one time. So, dressers are done. I don't know if I want to put too much detail on them, honestly. I mean, the grayscale is looking pretty decent already on there, so the grayscale does take a lot of challenge out of it. Let me go do something here real quick. I'm going to put you on a brief intermission. I'll be back with you in about 2 minutes. Alright, and we're back. Thanks for being patient. Another funny thing about the bathroom, when we were redoing it, we got a new cabinet for sink and stuff. And we had the drawers out of the cabinet when we had that installed. And after the installation was done, all the staining was done, the trim was put up and all that stuff, there's a couple of drawers that we were putting in that were next to the doorway area, and we couldn't fit them in. There was like a half an inch or whatever of a lip on the drawers that kept hitting the frame or the trim of the door so they wouldn't shut. So it was a good thing we didn't have them installed before he put that trim up. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to get the drawers out. Easy fix though, since a lot of drawers on your dressers and whatnot have a lip on them. We took it over to a relative of ours, and he just cut up down the side of those drawers, just trim that little bit off that we needed so we can get the drawers open and closed. You see weird things on TV, or not TV, but YouTube, weird construction ideas or projects, they weren't wearing the brain or whatever you want to say. So that would have been one of those things that was like, where were their brain at when they put this together? But no, we actually did pretty good on that. Thank goodness. Let me see. I'm trying to think what color to do the wall at, and I think we'll call it good there, because then we'll just have the rest of the details. We can hop over this corner tomorrow and this corner or something or whatever. What color? What color? I mean, we could do something dark. It would really make her pop out. If you're thinking this is a Victorian style kind of scenario, we could use greens, but back then green was actually kind of toxic, even though it was hard to get a hold of and expensive for them to buy to put green in. But maybe a dark blue, or one of these over here, 125. See what you think. I don't know. There we go. Kind of comes through. It's a greenish blue. Or we can go with this blue down here, which is like a dark navy blue. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by his toe. Oh. I can always flip a coin. As for this one, tails for that one. Hey, Google. Flip a coin. It's tails. We'll do 125. I'm sorry if I had your phone go off. I will never do something with Google that would make you buy a ton of cat litter or something. Not like some people have done in the past. Oh man, I've had some YouTube videos that I've watched, and the sound is on where my Google devices can hear it, and she'll start responding. I'm like, that is not my voice. That's not my voice command. I don't know why you responded. I think there's just something in the settings. But I don't know. Our Google's been acting funny lately. My husband, when he gets home, he says, "Hay Google, I'm home," and it'll start playing music or do a little bit of the news, then play music, something. And when he wants to stop it or pause it, Google listens, but then doesn't do anything, doesn't actually stop the music or whatever. So you have to unplug it and then plug it back in. So I don't know if you'd say I'm just too busy, too lazy, or whatever. I haven't actually did any searches to see why it does that or how to fix it. Or forget. That could be another problem. There's so many things on your brain. Yeah, that definitely makes her pop out. It'll make everything else pop out a lot more too. Doing a dark colored wall. I could go around her with a white gel pen like I did the bottom of her dress to make her pop out more. I'm going to take a look and see what this looks like once it's dry and see if that's the route. It'll probably be tomorrow whenever we come back online streaming again. I'll look and see if that's going to be a better way to go. Do not paint your walls this dark in your own household. It's gonna be a pain to cover it up. And make sure rooms look smaller. And actually can make it more depressing. I know we're going over our time here, but haven't gotten much done on this lately, so kind of wanted to push through to get the girl done. Done is what the goal was, but and then start working on some other stuff is what the plans have been. And we're there. Sometimes you just have to put in some overtime. Kind of trying to go back over the spots to blend it out a little bit. Definitely pulls everything out more away from the wall. Yeah, there's a little sliver in here. Alright, time to do the bottom. Weekend's coming up. Anyone's got any plans? Weekend gonna be nice and warm for you. I live in the north, Midwest north area, and it's kind of cold. It's 26 degrees this morning. So it's been warming up lately, so that's kind of nice. What stinks though is when I'm sitting here in my office working away on my real daily job here, and I got cameras that I like to watch outside. Just it kind of helps with my morale, see the birds and stuff. Which I don't know. I gotta take a look at those darn bird feeders. They've got food in them, but the birds have not touched them. So I wonder, because we got new bird feeders, and I wonder if they are, because they're bigger than the last ones, that they move on the shepherd's hooks that we have. them hanging on. The shepherd's hooks move around too much and freak the birds out. Because a lot of birds that come to the bird feeder are prey animals. And if they don't feel safe, they will not be coming back. So I think we might have to redo the mounting structure for it. Those shepherd's hooks for these bigger bird feeders are not conducive to how they like to feed on them. And the squirrels. Honestly, squirrels are crazy around here. Those guys usually go to town on those bird feeders. We've got a neighbor over here that likes to feed the crows and the squirrels. And they have like big old saucers, plastic saucers, or on the bottom of a large flower pot sitting outside, and they just dump an entire bag of birdseed in them, I swear, almost daily. Throw bread out and all kinds of stuff that the birds will eat. And the crows are constantly over there. I have to drive by that house every day, taking my little one to school. And it's just so bad. Birds are good. Don't like the bird poop, but they do help keep the bugs down. But if they're only eating the bird feed, they're not really doing much for the bug population, I don't think. But our house has a very deep overhang, and it's a hip roof. So it comes down on all four sides, basically. So it's not like a typical gable roof, which is what some people call an A-frame. So if you look on one side of the house, it looks like an A, with the way it comes to a peak on the top and then comes down just on two sides and is flat on the other two sides. That's an A-frame or a gable, which is kind of like a church. But where was I going with that? Oh, the overhang. So with the overhang, it goes over our eaves troughs and our downspouts and all that other stuff. So it creates a great little shelter for birds. So on our downspouts that kind of drop down and then bend and go towards the house a little bit and then come back down, there's that little bit of a nook right there where the eaves troughs or the downspouts kind of create a bit of a ledge or a shelf or platform, whatever you want to call it. The birds love to build nests right there. And given time, that can actually damage your downspouts, so you want to be careful with it. But my husband doesn't really mess around with them too much. He lets the birds kind of do their thing there. At the end of the breeding season or the chick rearing season, he'll knock them down and then make them build them again. But yeah, he'll just leave them up there for most of the time. Sometimes he won't even lock them down, but whatever. But yeah, the birds like to nest in those locations. I mean, I can't say I don't blame them. I mean, you don't have to worry about your trees swaying in the wind on high winds where your nest could fall out, or are you going to have enough shelter over the top to keep out of the rain, which most trees you're still going to get wet on. Underneath these overhangs, it's just not going to happen unless the wind's coming sideways. So the birds really like those spots. I can't wait till the family of birds come back and create a new brood. Start coming to our birds and feeders and if I can see them outside. I want to get a new window for my room here. These are old windows. In a 100-year-old house, there's counterweight windows, and then there's semi-functional windows, and I mean semi a lot. They have exterior window pane sections that you would have to swap out during the seasons. So in the winter time, you put the glass pane section up there, and in the summer, warmer months, you would take that out and put the screen mesh system in their section, and then you can have your breeze. Well, that's a lot of work when you're only going to probably use those windows for a month and a half before summer hits and it's getting really hot and you're just going to crank the AC on anyways. But back in the day, there was no air conditioning, and that's how you cooled your house, is having as many windows as open as possible to cool your house down. So, this window here, it's got the 2-pane section, but it's wide enough where I have 3 squares, so to speak, of windows. I would say 2.5 foot by 2.5 foot, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe close to 3 foot. So I have 3 window sections like that. But the window size is so odd. You'd have to get like a custom window in there to be able to replace those windows out. And custom windows are expensive. So what I was thinking is we can still get semi-custom windows in there and take the window panes out, interior and exterior, completely out, and there's like the 2 dividers that make up the 3 window sections. Cut those out in the 1/3 and the 2/3 point of the window, and then put a new section right in the middle. So instead of having a 3 window pane would go to a 2 window pane, and doing the sliding windows that slide from side to side. Could do a crank out window, but I'm not entirely sure how that would work because the walls are deep. You're looking at about a foot deep of these window pane sections. So that's quite a bit of ways to go with a crank window, because most windows are not that deep. Even if it's a crank, it's probably about 8 inches deep or wide. So going from here to here is a big difference, especially for a crank window. A sliding window, obviously, would be easier, and would work just as good. You would still have a ledge from when the window hits the outside of the frame to the inside of the house, but I think that would be fine with that ledge. I would just do something to go around the outside of the window frame, a wood border trim or something. I think would look kind of nice and really spruce up that window and make it more functionable. Because there's times I would just love to hear the birds chirp, and you just can't do that. Not when you don't have a window you can open. One of these days. But yeah, I'd love to show you what those windows look like. I don't really have any pictures of them. But maybe one day I'll show you some pictures of them and put them on stream or something. But yeah, I think we are done for the day. We did quite a bit. We got the background done, the dresser's done, finished off the girl with the exception of that, if we're going to finish it. I think I call that a win-win. So what about you? I think so. I hope you enjoyed this session, a little bit of story time and whatnot while we're coloring. If you like it, let me know. Please follow, send messages. I'd be happy to hear your thoughts, what to do next. Do another one of these. Love these, don't get me wrong. I work on these a lot. I have the other one I was working on. I finished the one I did the other day, and I've got this one here I'm working on the side. I broke my clipboard the other day. It cracked. You can hear it right here. There's a crack. Yeah, I was leaning on it, but that happens. But yeah, I think we'll do a printout and do the water inks. That's what I think is going to be my next plan. Definitely want to do digital art. That is fun as well. Definitely kind of time consuming, but we'll dabble in that after we do our next project. But we are just about done with this girl. I mean, we've covered quite a bit of areas. So we got the mirror and the grapes, or whatever you want to call here. There's grapes there too, and the candles. Excuse me, get those to pop out. Maybe use the similar technique over here on the flames and stuff. And yeah, I think this is awesome stuff. It's gone a great way. So I hope you enjoyed. Come back next time when we go live. Get those notifications when we go live. Trying to still work on a consistent schedule. The plan is Monday through Friday between 8:30 to 9:30 Central Standard Time. Roughly is the schedule, sometimes earlier. Definitely never later than 8:30 because I'll just run out of time and not be able to get to work on time. So that's not good. So, we'll see you in the next one. And we're definitely over by 10 minutes today, but no big deal. You have yourself a great rest of your day and you be safe. Thank you.